It's 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday, and your phone buzzes on the nightstand. You're sitting at the kitchen table in your small, messy apartment. You earn an average salary, but you don't live an average life. You live paycheck to paycheck. The crushing cost of living, the soaring price of fuel, the weekly grocery bills, electricity, internet, Netflix, it all drains your account to zero by the 28th of every month. You live in a constant, quiet state of panic, terrified of a surprise car repair or a medical bill that will ruin you. You're reviewing documents for work. The local news is playing quietly in the background. The anchor mentions the massive $184 million lottery jackpot from last week. The prize is still unclaimed. The owner of the store where the winning ticket was bought is being interviewed, and you vaguely recognize him. You freeze. You open your wallet. You pull out the crumpled paper you bought 7 days ago and forgot about. You read the first number, 7. It matches. You read the second, 15. It matches. You hesitate for 6 seconds, then you check the rest. All 6 numbers and the Powerball. Exact match. Your heart does one hard thump. You stare at the glowing screen, your hands shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline. You are a dual British-Australian national. You know the laws. Neither country taxes gambling winnings. There is no government agency taking half. You get to keep every single penny. $184 million. Tax-free. You know your old life is dead, but you haven't yet begun to process what the new one will look like. The next morning, you call the VIP lottery claim line from the back of the ticket. It wasn't the first thing you did. First, you sat in a Starbucks for an hour from 8 a.m., endlessly scrolling TikTok to distract you from the enormity of the situation. Then you called work to let them know you were unwell and wouldn't be coming in today. Your voice trembles. The operator is friendly, congratulating you on your win. You've been the talk of their office for a week. They give you an address for a glass building downtown with quiet hallways and the partners who bill more in an hour than you make in a month. You walk into a private room on the 14th floor. A senior validation executive scans your ticket under a UV light. He nods once. Congratulations. They bring in a wealth manager from Coots Bank. You've never heard of them. He tells you they are the private bank to the British royal family. He looks like an accountant, soft hands, average face. He explains your options in a calm, measured tone. He suggests a trust. You aren't a financial expert, but you remember watching a YouTube video once about lottery winners using blind trusts to claim their money anonymously. You agree. You sign 7 different non-disclosure and trust formation documents. 3 days later, you log into a secure banking app. The funds have cleared. $184 million. You lean back and just stare at the number. For the first time in your life, you feel something close to power. It's not about the money. It's knowing no one can ever tell you what to do ever again. You don't quit your job abruptly. You tell yourself to act normal. You go into the office on Monday. You sit in useless corporate meetings, listening to middle managers talk about budgets and targets condescendingly, knowing you could buy the entire building in cash. You try to make it work for 2 weeks, but the illusion is broken. The deadlines and threats of bad performance reviews mean nothing to you now. You hand in your resignation. You use your accrued holiday pay to cut your 4-week notice period down to 1. Your manager feigns sadness, but only because of the work he'll need to put in to replace you. You feel neither sad nor elated. You feel nothing. Life around you is taking a course you could never have imagined 15 days earlier. You only have one real friend at work, Cedric. You've always gotten on well. You go out for drinks regularly, complaining about the broken systems and the terrible bosses. You look at him across the table at your leaving party. You don't tell him the truth. But you make a quiet mental note. When you figure out what you're going to do with your life, you're going to reward him for his friendship. Now you have a problem. You have a wife. You can't just come home to a cramped apartment with $100 million and no explanation. You sit her down at your IKEA kitchen table. You tell her you need to confess something. You open a secondary bank account on your phone and show it to her. It has exactly $4.2 million in it. You concoct the lie perfectly. You tell her you got involved in a massive underground crypto project 2 years ago. You tell her the founders executed a rug pull scam, draining the liquidity to steal millions from retail investors. But you realize what was happening minutes before they pulled the plug. You tell her you reverse engineered the transaction and siphoned $4.2 million out of the developers' hidden wallets before they could vanish. She stares at you wide-eyed. You look her in the eyes and assure her. The money is washed. It's untraceable. The scammers can never come looking for it because they stole it in the first place. And there is absolutely zero chance you will ever get in trouble. The story is detailed enough to give her a vague idea, but completely lacks the technical details for her to understand anything beyond the peril. She knows nothing of crypto markets, and you know this. For a second, she is silent. Then, she smiles. She doesn't care. She has lived on the breadline for so long, constantly stressed about groceries and rent. She has always wanted the beautiful, flawless life she sees on Instagram. She hugs you. The lie works. The money is a physical weight. You need to feel it. The next afternoon, you drive to a high-end luxury dealership. You walk right up to the centerpiece on the showroom floor, a Bentley Continental GT Mulliner, midnight emerald paint. The salesman approaches you slowly, his voice dripping with polite condescension, assuming you're just a tourist looking for a photo. You point to the Bentley, then you point out the window to a flawless white Range Rover Sport. I want the Bentley for me, the Range Rover for my wife. Cash. He hesitates. You slide the heavy black Coots card across the polished desk. His posture changes instantly. The respect is entirely manufactured, but you buy it anyway. You used to watch videos, reviews, and teaser trailers of the Bentley on YouTube. You used to dream about pulling up to work in one, and the looks you would receive. Now you're sat in the driver's seat. The smell of hand-stitched Portland leather in the Alcantara headliner hits you. You run your fingers over the cold, knurled metal of the gear selector. Everything feels solid. Quality. You start the W12 engine. The doors close, and the outside world goes completely, dead silent. You write a check without going for a test drive. The next day, you walk into an authorized dealer and buy a Rolex Submariner. You strap it to your wrist. The heavy, cold steel feels like a handcuff of success. But when you wear it to the local grocery store that evening to pick up milk, you don't feel powerful. You push your shopping cart past people calculating the cost of bread, and a deep, creeping embarrassment washes over you. You feel a sudden rush of intense guilt. You pull your hoodie sleeve down to hide the watch. You tell your wife you're celebrating. You book a trip to London. You don't just fly, you experience the invisible system built for the rich. You bypass the crowded terminal and walk into the first-class priority check-in. The staff greet you by name. You sit in the private lounge, drinking vintage champagne while looking down at the tarmac. On the plane, your seat is a private suite. The flight attendant brings you caviar, which you eat with a silver spoon while she makes up your bed. You land at Heathrow. A private chauffeur drives you to the center of London. You walk into one of the most elite hotels in Knightsbridge in the world. You book the sprawling penthouse suite. The treatment is flawless. The staff bows slightly when you pass. They anticipate your needs before you speak. You look out over the London skyline from your private balcony, wrapped in a cashmere robe. The world feels soft. You realize the entire planet is designed to bend to people with capital. 3 months later, the dust is settled. You send Cedric a text. You ask him to meet you for coffee at a crowded Starbucks near your old office. As you look around, you're reminded of all the time spent sitting at the window seat, dreading returning to your desk. Part of you still can't believe that will never be your life again. He arrives looking tired, stressed about a new project management software the company is forcing them to use. He vents for 10 minutes. You listen. You smile. Whilst you can't identify with the conversation anymore, you're happy to see him. You reach into your jacket. You tell him a variation of your cover story, an early crypto investment that finally paid off. You tell him you appreciate how he treated you when you were at the bottom. You slide a cashier's check across the small, sticky Starbucks table. It is made out to him. $300,000. You also slide a key fob across the table. A BMW M4, his dream car. You tell him it's parked in the underground parking garage under his work building. You drove it in this morning, and as you were getting out, your old boss walked past, taking a wide-eyed double look before pretending not to notice. You have felt the envy. It was a feeling you'd become accustomed to. You tell Cedric that when he looks in the glove box, you've already paid 2 years of insurance and have loaded $3,000 onto a prepaid Visa to cover petrol. He looks at the numbers on the check. He looks at the keys. He stops breathing for a second. Quit tomorrow, you tell him calmly. Go traveling, live your life. You stand up and embrace him before leaving. You love spending time with him, but it feels like a goodbye. You don't stop there, however. Your mother has been trying to sell her house for 2 years. It was your childhood home, but you understood that ever since your father passed away, it was a large house full of memories that was holding her back from moving forward. A heavy, quiet burden. You handle it. You buy the house for well over market price anonymously via an agent. Then you buy her a beautiful apartment in an exclusive, safe neighborhood. When she realizes what's happened, the emotion pours out. She cries on the phone, overwhelmed with relief and joy. You hear the weight of grief lift from her voice. The feeling hits you hard, a rare, pure moment of genuine emotion that money actually fixed. She's always told you she's proud of you. She's always meant it, but this time is different, special. Through your lawyer, you immediately wire the funds to pay off your sister's mortgage, too. You tell her your cover story over the phone. She cries. Her husband thanks you profusely. You change their entire lives in a single afternoon. You stop pretending to be normal. Your garage at the new $8 million gated estate expands. You buy a Ferrari 812 Superfast, a naturally aspirated V12 that screams when you touch the throttle. You buy a matte black Mercedes G-Wagon for the winter. When you drive the Ferrari through the city, everything stops. You pull up to an event and people stare. You see it in their eyes. The wonder, the intense envy, the quiet resentment. They look at you like you are a different species. You're no longer a person to them. You're a concept. But inside the fortress, the silence is deafening. You and your wife live in different wings of the house. She has the Instagram life now. The $15,000 Hermes handbags, the $20,000 Cartier bracelet, the private Pilates instructor. But the warmth is entirely gone. The money didn't fix the marriage, it just removed the financial stress that was holding it together. She looks at you differently now, with a quiet, detached expectation. You realize you have absolutely nothing in common anymore. She asks for a divorce. She doesn't scream. She doesn't cry. She just says she wants out. You don't fight her. Your heart feels completely numb. You call your legal team. You sit her down in the mahogany boardroom of your lawyer's office and slide a carefully prepared contract across the table. It is cold, clinical, and flawless. You offer her exactly $2 million in cash. She hesitates. It's more money than she ever thought she'd see in her lifetime, but she wants to think it over. This is one of the most important negotiations of her life, and she feels intimidated surrounded by your team. You, however, want this part of your life over and agree to additionally pay off her parents' mortgage if she signs today. Your lawyer presents her with a watertight NDA, waiving any and all recourse to anything you own in the future. She looks at the contract. She looks at the NDA. She looks at you. She signs it. As she stands to leave, you feel a twang of pain, but it quickly passes. She glances back at you briefly as she walks out of the room and out of your life. Just like that, the last 2 years of your life has ended. Your old life and now have no crossover. The spiral begins that night. You have over $170 million liquid and absolutely no one to share it with. You start flying private jets to Vegas on random Tuesdays. You book penthouses at the Wynn 3 times the size of your old apartment, but spend virtually no time in them. You drop $50,000 on bottle service at XS, surrounded by a slew of cheap women who stare in awe at the heavy metal card you hand to the waitress. You meet shady characters. High-stakes gamblers, club promoters, men who sell access and illusions. You meet retired sports stars at the center bar of the Venetian, retirees looking to hit it big at the Golden Nugget, drunk housewives on hens' weekends. You buy them all drinks. You laugh at their jokes. But every time you look in the bathroom mirror, the lights are too bright, your eyes look hollow, and the smile on your face is completely dead. It's 5 a.m. in Nevada. You are sitting alone in the VIP section of a club, surrounded by people whose names you don't know, drinking alcohol you don't even like. Suddenly a thought dawns on you. What am I doing here? You stand up. You walk out without saying a word to anyone. No goodbyes. No nice to meet yous. You head straight to the airport after collecting your things and fly back home. You stop answering calls from the Vegas promoters. You decline the call of the blonde whose name you no longer remember. You sit on the balcony of your massive, silent estate. The security guards are patrolling the perimeter below. You are completely alone. You have no real friends left, no wife, and no purpose. You sip a glass of expensive whiskey and watch the sun come up over the trees. It is a lonely life. But then you take a deep breath. You are no longer dodging the calls of debt collection agencies. You don't have to sit at your desk for 40 hours a week pretending to care about Julie from accounts or the goal her 6-year-old son scored at the weekend. You don't have to look at a price tag ever again. You didn't buy happiness. You bought an absolute impenetrable fortress against the world. You take another sip of whiskey. You smile, a small quiet smile. You didn't beat the system. You just survived it. In your new invisible world, that quiet, lonely freedom became the only victory that mattered.